Not everyone is ready to hear spiritual truths. And this is the first challenge you face when trying to share your awareness with others. Being spiritually awake means seeing life through a lens of deeper understanding, recognizing patterns, observing the ego, feeling the interconnectedness of all things, and sensing energy in ways that go beyond ordinary perception. But most people are still navigating life through filters of fear, habit, conditioning, and ego. Their minds are not yet prepared to receive the subtle insights that come naturally to you. This is not a judgment on them. It is simply the reality of where they are in their journey. When you attempt to share what you know, what feels like clarity to you may feel threatening, confusing, or even confrontational to someone who hasn't awakened yet. Their ego, their deeply held beliefs, and their sense of identity may be triggered by your words. Statements about awareness, consciousness, or inner growth can unintentionally challenge their self-perception, making them defensive. They might misunderstand your intention entirely, assuming judgment, criticism, or superiority where there is none. This is why timing and discernment are critical when speaking spiritual truths. Even subtle comments can be misinterpreted. For instance, pointing out that someone is acting from fear rather than love can feel accusatory. Suggesting they are attached to outcomes or material possessions might make them feel judged. Sharing personal experiences of enlightenment, peace, or expanded awareness can unintentionally make others feel inferior, left behind, or inadequate. They may not yet have the tools or the awareness to process these truths constructively. Instead of fostering curiosity or reflection, your words can create distance, resentment, or resistance. This does not mean that you should hide your truth or deny your spiritual insights. On the contrary, being awake requires authenticity and integrity, but it does require wisdom in how, when, and to whom you speak. It requires recognizing that your awakening is yours first and foremost, a journey of personal transformation, and that others will awaken in their own time and in their own way. Just because someone is not ready today does not mean they will never be ready. Patience is an essential part of spiritual maturity. The challenge of speaking truth also teaches you subtle forms of communication, listening more than speaking, demonstrating rather than instructing, and embodying your awareness in ways that others can sense without needing to fully understand immediately. Your presence becomes a teaching tool, often more powerful than words. By holding your insights with compassion and discernment, you avoid unnecessary conflict and create the conditions for genuine awakening when the other person is ready. In essence, the challenge of speaking spiritual truths to those who aren't awake is a test of your patience, empathy, and wisdom. It reminds you that awakening is not about proving anything to others. It is about living in alignment with your truth while respecting the journey of everyone else. Understanding this balance is the first step toward becoming a spiritually effective communicator, someone whose words and presence can inspire transformation rather than resistance. There are certain truths that cannot be spoken freely, not because they are forbidden, but because they are simply too heavy for someone who has not awakened. Spiritual truth is not like ordinary knowledge. It is not something you can hand to someone the way you hand them a book or a piece of advice. True understanding requires an inner shift, a readiness, a certain breaking of old patterns. Without that shift, these truths can feel overwhelming, frightening, or even meaningless to the unprepared mind. Think about how the ego works. The ego depends on control, certainty, and familiar narratives to feel safe. It needs labels, explanations, and boundaries. But spiritual truths dissolve those boundaries. They challenge the ego's illusions. They pull back the curtain and reveal that life is not what we were conditioned to believe. For someone still identified with their ego, hearing such truths is not enlightening. It is destabilizing. This is why some truths feel heavy. They do not just inform, they transform. Tell someone who isn't awake that their thoughts are not truly theirs, and they will think you're crazy. Tell them the self they defend so fiercely is only a story, and they will feel attacked. Tell them life is unfolding, not controlled, and they will feel powerless. To someone who is awake, these realizations bring freedom, clarity, and expansion. To someone who is not, they bring fear. Spiritual truth exposes illusions, and illusions hold emotional weight. People cling to their identities, their beliefs, their dramas, and their attachments because these things make them feel stable. You present a truth that shakes their foundation. Even gently, it can feel threatening. The mind reacts with defense mechanisms: anger, denial, sarcasm, or silence. Not because your truth is wrong, but because it is too heavy for them to carry at this point in their journey. Another reason these truths feel heavy is because they require responsibility. Real spiritual awareness demands self-reflection, accountability, and inner work. It forces a person to confront uncomfortable aspects of themselves: wounds, patterns, fears, and attachments. Many people aren't ready to do that. They want comfort, not transformation. They want validation, not awakening. They want answers that support their existing worldview, not ones that shatter it. Spiritual truth cannot be understood intellectually. It must be lived, felt, embodied. Someone who has not experienced even a glimpse of higher awareness cannot comprehend the weight of these realizations. It's like explaining the vastness of the ocean to someone who has never seen water. Words will not prepare them. The experience itself is required. And so, the awakened person learns that silence is not weakness. It is wisdom. You begin to recognize which truths must be protected, held quietly, and shared only with those who are ready to receive them. You understand that some truths are sacred not because they are secret, but because revealing them too soon can do more harm than good. In the end, the heaviness of truth is not a burden. It is a sacred responsibility, one that must be handled with patience, love, and deep spiritual maturity. There are certain things you should never reveal to people who are not spiritually awake, not because you are hiding anything, but because these truths can be easily misunderstood, misinterpreted, or used against you. When someone is still operating from the ego, they cannot see your intention clearly. They filter everything through fear, insecurity, comparison, and judgment. Sharing deep spiritual insights with such people can create conflict, distance, or unnecessary suffering. These 5 things are not secrets. They are sacred truths meant for those who can hold them with awareness and maturity. First, never share your spiritual experiences. Moments of awakening, deep stillness, visions, synchronicities, or profound insights are not ordinary events. They are inner experiences meant for your evolution. If you try to explain them to someone who lives trapped in the mind, they will reduce your experience to fantasy, delusion, or exaggeration. Not because your experience isn't real, but because they cannot comprehend it. Their worldview has no room for the subtle, the mystical, the transcendent. Explaining your awakening to an unawakened person is like describing colors to someone who has never opened their eyes. Protect these experiences, they are part of your inner temple. Second, never reveal your ability to sense people's energy. A spiritually awake person can feel intentions, emotional patterns, insecurities, and even unspoken thoughts. You can sense when someone is hurting, lying, pretending, or seeking validation. But telling people you can read them can make them deeply uncomfortable. They may feel exposed, threatened, or judged. Instead of appreciating your awareness, they may distance themselves or become defensive. Let your intuition guide your actions quietly. You don't need to announce it. Third, never share your insights about their ego. You may see someone's behavior clearly, their fears, attachments, illusions, or emotional wounds. But pointing these out to someone who is not spiritually awake will trigger the very ego you're trying to help them see. They will feel attacked, criticized, or insulted. The ego's instinct is to protect itself at all costs. If someone is not ready to look inward, no amount of explanation will help. Let them reach their own realizations when life presents the right lessons. Fourth, never talk about your detachment from worldly desires. If you mention that you are no longer motivated by status, material wealth, validation, or competition, people who are deeply identified with these pursuits will misunderstand. They may think you are lazy, unambitious, or lacking direction. They cannot see that you operate from a deeper center, one that is no longer driven by fear or societal pressure. Detachment is a sign of inner freedom, but to the unawakened mind it looks like failure or passivity. Fifth, never reveal your awareness of the illusion of the self. Telling an unawakened person that the identity they cling to, their opinions, their beliefs, their story, is not their true self, is one of the fastest ways to trigger fear or anger. The unawakened ego believes that without its identity, it is nothing. But you know that beyond the identity lies consciousness, pure and limitless. This truth must be discovered, not taught. These 5 things are not meant to be hidden in shame, but held with respect. They are truths that require readiness, humility, and inner stillness to understand. Share them only with those who are capable of receiving them without fear. One of the greatest responsibilities of being spiritually awake is learning how to protect your inner world. Awakening gives you clarity, intuition, and emotional depth, but it also makes you more sensitive, more open, and more vulnerable to the energies around you. You begin to notice things others overlook: the tension in someone's voice, the heaviness in a room, the unresolved pain behind a smile, the ego hidden beneath confidence. Your awareness becomes like a finely tuned instrument, but such sensitivity must be handled with care. Without boundaries, the world can feel overwhelming. Without discernment, your inner peace can easily be disturbed. Protecting your inner world does not mean shutting people out. It means understanding who can meet you where you are and who cannot. Many people speak loudly but listen poorly. Many want advice but are unwilling to change. Many ask questions not because they seek truth, but because they seek validation for what they already believe. Sharing your deepest insights with such people is like pouring pure water into a rusty vessel. The water loses its essence and the vessel rejects its purity. Your inner world is sacred because it is where your awareness lives, where your peace resides, and where your intuition speaks. When you reveal too much of it to those who are not ready, you allow their fears, their doubts, and their projections to enter your space. Suddenly you find your clarity clouded, your energy drained, your peace disturbed, not because your truth is wrong, but because you shared it with someone who could not hold it. Protecting your inner world is an act of wisdom, not fear. It means knowing when to stay silent. Silence is not weakness. Silence is mastery. It means choosing your battles carefully. Not every misunderstanding deserves your explanation. Not every question deserves your deepest answer. It also means embracing solitude, not as loneliness, but as nourishment. Solitude is where your inner voice becomes louder than the world's noise. It is where you reconnect with yourself, where you integrate your experiences, where you grow spiritually. Many awakened people feel drawn to solitude naturally because it is the only space where they do not need to shrink, translate, or justify their awareness. Another part of protecting your inner world is recognizing that not everyone is meant to walk your path with you. Some people will misunderstand you. Some will feel threatened by your clarity. Some will think you are too quiet, too deep, too sensitive, or too detached. That is all right. You are not here to convince anyone. You are here to live in alignment with your truth. Your inner world is like a flame. Expose it to strong winds and it flickers. Protect it with your hands and it glows. Place it in the